Hey everyone, Ed Cahill here from Cahill Cards. When I got back into the hobby about a year ago, the first experience I had when I came back was a live sports card case break. And I had the absolute best time. And from that moment on, I knew that breaking was something I eventually wanted to do. As someone who has some production experience, who has some on camera experience, I thought it would honestly be a perfect fit for me. And it was something that instantly I decided to pursue. But when I looked on YouTube, there actually was almost zero decent videos explaining what it actually took and what steps you needed to take to become a breaker. So after about 4 or 5 months of really hard work, just the other day, I launched my breaks at cahillcards.com. It was a labor of love. It was not exactly easy. And I have not even done my first break yet. It's actually next Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Please join me. I would love for you to join me. But even before I get to my first break, I wanted to take some time and just put the knowledge that I have learned over the last few months onto tape for people who follow in my footsteps and who get back into this hobby and decide they want to do case breaks and want to do box breaks. And so I'm going to do a several part video here where I describe all the different steps I took in excruciating detail at times, just so you can understand the things that you have to do to become a breaker. Let's get going. So the first thing I want to talk about is building trust and building an audience, and also practice. So like I said, when I first got back in the hobby, I almost instantly knew that I wanted to become a breaker. It just looked like so much fun to me. It looked like something I could really get into in a way I could be an integral member of this hobby that I had missed out on for really the past 20 years of my life, since my childhood at least. But what I understood as a digital marketer and content professional, I understood that I had to A, practice my craft, B, build an audience, and C, gain trust. So what I actually did was opened up my YouTube channel, Cahill Cards, and started creating content. It was not good at first. I'll throw up some B-roll here of some of my original videos. I was really just using a webcam, no lighting, room lighting, and my iPhone to open some packs of cards. I really didn't know what I was doing. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I certainly learned. And as I continued to grow in video after video, my quality improved. I invested in new equipment and made some content that I think better engaged and serviced our community. And after a while, I started to build a small but engaged audience. And that was something I knew I would have to do before I considered breaking. Because if you think about selling a product and handling a product that holds a lot of value, people need to trust and know you before they are going to entrust you with that product. So that was the first thing that I decided I had to do. And as I mentioned, the second part of that is really just practicing being on camera, practicing opening the packs, understanding that wax doesn't always open easily, understanding the different products and what you're getting into. Because when you're going into breaking, you're going to have to understand those products that you're opening on camera so that you can best give information to your viewers and to your customers who have paid you to open cards for them. You have to know about the product for them to have any type of trust in you at all. And then just involve yourself in conversations around the hobby. Be involved, make connections, make friends. That is the absolute best way that you can start. Don't go straight into this thing trying to sell a product to people. It really won't work. You'll have to hustle, hustle, hustle. Not that you won't here in the end, which I'll talk about, but it's definitely going to be much harder for you. So start small, build an audience, build your content, and get comfortable. Next up for me, at least, was starting the process of starting a business. So Cahill Cards at the time was just a moniker, just a handle for my channel. And I decided at some point when I wanted to seriously pursue breaking, I needed to develop a business, because in breaking, there's a large amount of exchange of funds. You're purchasing a large amount of cards and spending a great deal of money on cards. So having a business to back that up certainly makes things easier. And as I go into this, first of all, I want to say I am not an accountant. I am not at all a professional at this. This is some of my first experience in this. So I would advise you to go get an accountant and help you out. It's something I'm actually pursuing right now because I realize I'm in a bit over my head, but I'm going to give you as much info as I can just for the sake of transparency. So I actually already had an LLC for some consulting work I did on the side. So I didn't need to develop an LLC, but if you want to, it's pretty easy to do. Look it up. Don't do it through any third-party companies. Just do it straight through your state's registry. It'll save you a lot of money. Those third-party companies will make things much more difficult for you and much more expensive, but it's really not that hard to file for an LLC. So if you can just search that up, you have to do it specified per state. So because I already had an LLC, which some of you may, I wanted to have a specific doing business as name for Cahill Cards so I could write checks, open bank accounts, do business under that name. So I applied for what's called a doing business as license. I think in the state of Florida here, it only cost me about $50, and that allows me to operate under Cahill Cards as my form of business for the cards portion of my LLC, while I can still do other business under my main branch of my LLC. So you may want to do card company distributors as your main LLC even. And then if you want to do underneath it, John Doe Brakes, you could have that as a doing business as name, and you could open multiple companies underneath that LLC. So the next, and honestly, this was the most complicated portion for me, especially because I started my braking business during the COVID-19 pandemic, which if you're watching this video right now is still going on, maybe in the future. Thankfully, we're out of here. So our government and the paperwork and trying to get paperwork from the government was an absolute nightmare, mainly because of unemployment. But the first thing I had to do was apply for tax certification within my state. It really varies state by state, but you're going to have to get basically a tax certificate and notification from your state telling that basically you're reselling product. That is the key here. If you're braking or if you're even buying product and then reselling it, you're technically a reseller. And so you're going to have to start down that process. Again, it varies wildly state to state. And Florida, I know, is actually very different from some other states. So look into, really, if you look at what we're going to talk about next, it should give you the full pathway, get there. And that is getting your resale certificate. So to buy any product from distributors, which we will talk about later, you're going to need a resale certificate. To get that, most of the times you have to be tax registered in your state to basically pay sales tax, because when you're buying from a resale from a wholesaler, you're going to defer those taxes and buy those products tax-free, and then collect taxes when you resell them, or at least work that in to your buying price. So acquiring a resale certificate took me quite a while, but once you get that, you'll be able to apply to distributors later down the line, which we'll talk about in a segment coming up. And once you finish all that up, what you're going to need is product. And that is something that can be very complex, and we're going to talk about next. So acquiring product is key to start any of your brakes. To break something, you absolutely need the product. And there are several different ways to do this, and I'm going to break them all down. First of all, you could acquire products straight from a retailer. So you could go to Target or Walmart and buy the boxes they have there and do brakes on those boxes, or resell those boxes if you wish. You could go straight to one of the card companies. So you could buy a box off Panini America. You could buy a box off Topps.com. You could go to third-party distributors. You could buy off, Steel City Collectibles. You could buy off BlowoutCards.com. You're going to be paying the market rate for those boxes. So when you break, you're going to have slimmer margins if you are looking to make any profit. And you also need to consider fees, shipping, all of that. So it's not necessarily the most efficient way to go about buying your product. Now, the path I went down was trying to acquire a distributor, or trying to partner with a distributor. This was a very difficult step. Sports cards are very popular right now. Distributors are pretty much sold out of all their inventory at all time, but it's something nonetheless I pursued. And after emailing multiple handfuls of distributors, I was finally able to find one. Now, you may ask yourself, how do I find a distributor to apply to? I'm not going to tell you the name of my distributor because I really don't want to inundate them with emails, because I know I was barely even able to squeeze in to the mix there. But if you Google a hobby distributor, that's what these are going to be called, because they're going to distribute not only sports cards, but Pokemon cards and trading cards and card binders and miniatures and all those type of things. They're basically wholesaler distributor warehouses that supply hobbyists from brick and mortar stores to online retailers to third-party retailers. So if you Google hobby distributor, you will find many distributors that do this. Some will be even regional. And what you want to do is go on their website and look at their application process. Those will require generally those resale tax certificates, proof that you own a business and have a government tax number, an EIN, which I didn't mention in the first segment, but I should have. It's fairly easy though. Again, don't do it through any third-party service. If you need to get a tax number for your business, just do it through the IRS. It's super simple. I think it's free. There might be a small charge, but it's definitely the way to do it is just to go straight through the IRS to acquire a tax number for your business. So your distributors are going to require all of that before they even take a look at your application. Now, just because you applied certainly doesn't mean that distributor is guaranteed to work with you, consider you, or even reply to you. To be honest, I think I applied to 5 or 6 distributors and I actually only heard back from one. And I actually had to really, network my way in to even get someone to talk to me. And so it is a very crowded space. It is a very difficult thing to do. And even when you get in like I did, I actually have 0 allocation for pre-ordered products. So that means when a new product is set to come out 1 or 2 months down the line, I can place a pre-order for it. But because I'm new, I have no existing business, I have no purchases, I will likely get 0 of those allocations. Maybe if I'm lucky, I maybe get a box or 2. I'm certainly never going to get a case of a product. And that's just the reality when you are starting out. You are not going to be able to go buy massive amounts of product if you have 0 history with that distributor, at least at this moment in time when the hobby is very in demand and cards are very in demand. What you will have access to, at least in my distributor's case, are restocks. So restocks are product that they get back in either from distributors or sold back to them from overstock of people they sold. And it is not going to be generally at a wholesale price. It's going to be slightly under retail, sometimes maybe right at retail. But what you're going to have to do to build up the trust to eventually get allocation is you're going to have to buy those restocks from your distributor. So just as, again, full transparency, I have bought only restocks from my distributor at the start of my company and the start of my breaks. I've also bought third-party product. I've also bought product via Twitter. I've also found product in retail that I plan to break, but I've only so far been able to buy restock product. So most of my margins in my breaks are going to be extremely slim. I will say so far, my distributor has been absolutely fantastic to work for. I get restocks basically in my inbox every day that lets me know what products they've had that come back available. I can send in a quick email. I can say, hey, I'm interested in 4 boxes of this, 3 boxes of this, 1 boxes of this. Hey, hold it. I may want to put in more orders throughout the week. You can ship it out to me on Monday. They make it super easy. It's great to go on their website and browse the product. I've put in a bunch of pre-orders. I have no idea if by that time I will have accrued enough respect and spent enough money to kind of work my way into maybe getting a box or 2, but that's certainly my hope. But it was a big step for me because I think it gives me maybe future viability to make this something that is actually sustainable long-term, because I think buying from third-party distributors, unless you're really just looking to do breaks for fun, which I certainly am, but long-term, I would like to make it a sustainable business that I can put a lot of time into, because if you've listened to any of this video, it's clear that I've spent a great deal of time on this process, and I would like to make it financially viable for me to continue to do, not only to provide a service for the community, because something I have a passion for and I would like to do more and spend more of my time on. So you've got some cards in hand, whether that be retail, whether you picked up a bunch of blaster boxes from your local store, you have something that you feel like you can break. The next thing you have to decide to do is what your format is going to be. This can be really limitless, especially in today's world of all the different social media platforms. But I'll go down the list of a couple different ways that you can do it. First of all, on kind of the top level, in my opinion, in terms of some of the bigger break shops and bigger professionals, is to stream on YouTube. And that doesn't necessarily mean exclusively on YouTube, because you can use Restream.io and you could shoot your stream out to every major platform that'll accept it. But YouTube seems to be where most big breakers are currently housed. It's easy to go live at. It's easy to archive your videos. YouTube has a great infrastructure for backing that up. Everyone knows how to log on to YouTube. Most people have YouTube accounts. It's the place where the most videos in the world are found, and you will also get a lot of organic engagement there. So that is probably the 1A place to host your breaks. But 2, and one that has been really coming up lately, is straight via Instagram. Now, this is a little dirtier, in my opinion. It's a little more grassroots. There's a little more improvisation involved, and maybe a little less organization, but that's not necessarily true. A lot of these guys do a great job. You can actually just pop up an Instagram live on your Instagram account and run your breaks that way. I'll explain later in terms of websites and payments and everything there, and things are a little bit different when you're doing it in that direction, but it's still a very viable thing. And I have seen many breakers really grow, and I've seen people build full-time businesses out of breaking just on Instagram. So that is a very easy, attainable way for you to pop up and break without any of this infrastructure, which I will give you a in-depth tour of, and it's expensive. It's a very inexpensive way to pop up and break right away without spending any money. Twitch is also a very interesting platform. Twitch, if you know the gaming world, it is growing very quick. It's built for engagement on the platform with chat and some of the different things you can do with third-party plugins. And so that makes it actually a very interesting place for breaks. There's a few breakers that are on there right now, but it's not heavily populated, but it's something in the future I could see a lot of breakers potentially migrating to Twitch because of its great user features, because of a lot of its great real-time interaction that it provides. And finally, in terms of format, we're going to talk about where you're hosting the information for your breaks and how people are paying you. The first thing you can do, and what I've done is I built a website. You can go to khillcards.com and see what I've built there. And it is a path that you can take if you, in my opinion, want to kind of legitimize your breaks, if you want to clean your breaks and make it easier, not only for yourself, but for your customers. So on khillcards.com, I can go list all of my breaks. I can show pictures. I can have people pay directly through the website. And it makes things pretty clean for me on the back end, but also for the customers on the front end. I can put FAQs up there. I can put my policies. I can let people know how many cards I ship. I can put links to my social channels and where to watch. It's just a very, in my opinion, professional way to do it. Now, the other side of the coin is via Instagram. You're not really going to necessarily have that luxury, and a lot of people don't do that. You obviously could have a website that you're running. People go and bid, and our people go and buy, and then you bring it on onto your phone and do it that way. The way a lot of Instagram runs is in-chat purchases. So you may see a sheet on the Instagram that says PayPal, johndoe@gmail.com, $45 a spot. You go pay, they see you pay, they put you on the handwritten list, and you go. So a super lo-fi way to go. In my opinion, I did not want to go that way because I wanted kind of the back-end organization from a website, not only being able to track payments, be able to track customers, emails, data, missing carts. There's a lot that you can do on that back end. And again, not saying that you can't mix the two, but I would say most Instagrammers I have seen are generally going that PayPal route, but you could certainly pair it up with a website and sell your breaks that way to get the best of both worlds. Now, if you're looking for opinions on which website to go to, I think the main two are Squarespace and Shopify. They're the easiest kind of point and click and build by yourself if you're not a web designer, and they also have great stores built in. Personally, I'm kind of a novice web designer, but I do a lot of web design for my job, and I built out a lot of websites on Squarespace. So that was the first place I kind of gravitated towards because I was comfortable. But when I did more research, I really found that Shopify had more of the e-commerce backbone and support that I wanted. And so while I wasn't as comfortable with Shopify, I ended up going that direction because I thought it had the best support for my customers and the best way for me to handle payments, tracking, and products. So I would personally recommend Shopify, but both stores offer, both Squarespace and Shopify have all the features you need to do it. You will need a little bit of know-how on the back end in terms of processing payments, but it'll walk you through all of that, no problem. Both platforms do have a monthly or yearly fee. It'll probably run you about $200 to $300 a year to open an e-shop on one of those platforms. But honestly, with all the features and everything they have, it should be worth it in the end. So now let's talk streaming setup. It's time to do your breaks. You've got your product, you've got your website built, you've got your forms of payment in, you've got your business, you've got your LLC. It's time to start thinking about how you're going to present this break to your customers. As we mentioned, Instagram, easy way to pop it open, go, almost zero thought or equipment has to go in it. Make sure you have a phone, make sure it's plugged in, have a stand so you don't have to hold it. Pretty basic things. Now, if you want to go full stream setup, I'm going to give you a full rundown of everything that I did to get down there. I'm going to kind of piece it up, so it might be a little dirty. I'm also going to show you kind of what my front end will look like on my breaks that start next week as well. So I'm actually going to pop open my phone so I can give you an exact behind the scenes look. So for this face cam that I'm looking at you right now, I'm actually just using a pretty cheap Logitech 1080p webcam. These can be found on Amazon, at Target. Right now during COVID, they're actually super expensive, but I think retail, this should only run about $70. If you just line this up with natural light, it is going to look very bad. If you just put it in your room, it's going to be pretty fuzzy and pretty hazy. But I've invested in a handful of lights, and I'll show you that now with the phone. So these are Elgato key lights. Excuse any mess you see, man. This room is an absolute mess. So these are basically very soft lights, and I've got two of them that light my face up pretty well. These are actually fairly cheap, I think, for what they offer. I think it's like $170. And the cool thing with this is on my PC here, I can actually control these lights from my computer. So if I wanted to turn off my left light, I just click that button and boom, it's gone. Obviously, it's very dark right now, so we'll flip it back on with the click of a button. I can also control the brightness of each light. So boom, boom. If I want to go really bright, bam. So very cool from Elgato there. These are actually the Key Light Airs. They also make bigger ones as well. You can also control the color temperature, but I'm not going to mess with that. They also coordinate, if you'll excuse me, with Elgato's Stream Deck, which I'm going to use in my streams to program my different camera angles, put in some effects, put in some music. You can actually control those lights with this during stream if you ever wanted to adjust it. The next thing you're going to need is a second camera to show the cards. So you could very easily just pop open another one of those cameras, pop it on a tripod, plug it in USB to your computer, and it wouldn't be a problem at all. I've opted for a little bit more complex. I got a Sony a6600. Runs about $2,000. You're gonna need a lens with it as well. That'll work. If you want more details on that, let me know. It can get a little complicated. I had to do some trial and error. And then I have it mounted to what's called a Manfrotto Magic Arm and Clamp to give me the overhead view of my space. And you're also going to need, I really probably should have started with this, you're going to need a PC that is capable of all this. So I've got my own custom built PC, which is down here. And in here, I basically just run everything through USB because obviously the Logitech camera goes through USB. While this doesn't, there's a nifty device. And again, man, Elgato should sponsor me because they're all over here. This is called a CamLink. So what this will actually do is plug in HDMI to HDMI mini on this camera, and it'll plug in USB to my computer, and it'll actually think it's one of those bad boys. It'll think it's a webcam, which makes it super easy to put in your software. And then after that, you're going to want a microphone. There's multiple ways you can do this. I have just a blue Yeti microphone. I think it's great. I actually ordered another arm for it to kind of get it off the table because I don't want it in the way while I'm messing with cards. I found it troublesome. But you'll get great quality out of these. It just plugs in, again, USB to your computer. And then also for professionalism, you can get a nice mat with your logo on it or whatever you want to put on it. I got this at Inked Gaming. I'll put them in the description down below. Really high quality. It's basically just a mouse pad. And they printed this great. I even have a tough gradient on my logo. It came through great. I just recommend that to break your cards, do your video. It just helps with your brand awareness. Lets people know when they turn on your stream that they are watching your channels. All right, so you've got your setup. You've got your product. You've got your website. You've got your forms of payment. Now it's time to actually fill your breaks. Now, if you followed step one in terms of building an audience, building trust, now is the time to go leverage that trust and lean on those people to join your breaks. It shouldn't at that point be any pressure. And that's something that, again, I'm in the process of filling breaks right now. And full transparency, I launched my breaks 24 hours about from the time of this video. In my first break, I've got 30 spots. I filled 16 of those. A lot of those people are people I know and that I've met in the hobby. And I'm so thankful that they've decided to come support me and enjoy my first break with me. I'm just having those people there also is going to make me so much more comfortable when I go to break. Having a room full and a stream full of people that I know is going to make me feel so much more at home, and should, I think, make for so much better experience for me, and help me provide a better experience for everyone who's bought into that break. So leverage those connections that you've hopefully built. Leverage your content. The reason I'm making this video today is because I want you to go check out my breaks at khillcards.com. See how that works? So leverage your channels that you built out. Leverage your content. Mention it in your box openings for that week. Don't just switch instantly to sales mode. That's just, people don't love being sold to. I understand that. So, while I'm going to post this video today, I'm also going to post a break of Topps Finest that I'm going to review later in the week. And then I've got another Topps Finest UEFA Champions League that I'm going to review. And I got some Topps product to open up. So don't just completely switch your channels to 100% sales mode. Just keep doing what you're doing. And then, first of all, you're going to want to start small. Don't open up 50 breaks and expect to fill them all. I actually opened up 3 breaks, and might have been a mistake. So I've got a total of 80 spots to fill. Maybe a bit off more than I could chew, but I would start even smaller than that. Maybe just start and hope to fill 1 break. I myself am starting at 1 night a week. I'm going to break every Tuesday night at 9:30. And that's another thing. You want to stay consistent, build a schedule. So if you can't afford or don't have the audience to go 7 days a week, if you can, pick out 1 night. Say you're going to get on stream every Tuesday night at 9:30. Whether you have a break full or not, you get on, you talk cards, you open some personal boxes, you try to fill out a break, and you try to break. And if you keep that schedule consistent, more people will regularly join your breaks and come hang out with you, and hopefully buy into a break. I would also suggest you offer out a promo code and some money off to those people who have been there to support you and to help you win. I offered $5 to friends and family, or to people on my YouTube, $5 off their first break. I think that is a very smart and fair thing, and a way to give back to your community. So make it easy on people to join, make it cheap, make it affordable. Don't go looking for massive profit margins in your first break. It's probably not going to happen. So just try to make it as affordable as you can, while making sure that, you certainly could take a loss. And I think, there's a likelihood I take a loss on my first break, and I'm okay with that. You got to factor in fees, shipping, all that stuff. I had to buy 1,000 top loaders the other day. I had to buy 1,000 penny sleeves. I had to buy, heavy point top loaders for a specific break I'm doing. So you're going to spend some money, and don't necessarily expect to get it all back, but just understand that that is a cost of getting started. Okay, you filled your break. It's time to do your first break. The first thing I'm going to suggest to you is that you go watch a bunch of streamers. I'm lucky enough that that's the way I got back into the hobby. And so I watched Brian Wolf over at wolfscardbreaks.com. He's on YouTube as well. He's a great guy to watch. Super chill is really kind of how I've modeled myself, is after him, because I really respect what he does. There's some other people that do different styles. There's some people that are way over the top. There's some people that just try to get through as many cards as possible. There's a litany of different breakers out there that all have different styles. I would suggest you go watch them all, and also watch how they handle randoms. Watch how they handle cards that have 2 teams on them. There's a lot to learn just by watching and even participating. Go support other breakers. That's a great way to build your own communities. Go support other breakers. If you want people to support you, you should be out there supporting other people as well. Be willing to jump into breaks, converse, get to know people. That is the absolute best thing I've done. Is I've actually met a couple of breakers I've broken with, and I've spent a couple hours on the phone, learning from them, asking them questions, and building those relationships. So before you even start breaking, go watch other breakers, see what they do, but don't get lost in that. Try to be yourself. Do something a little bit different. My breaks next week, I'm going to try to take a bit of a different approach, working on some interesting things. As you see, my overlay is probably a little more flashy than most people in the break game. That's something I'm leaning into. I'm going to try to run some music. I'm going to try to do some graphic overlays. I'm not 100% there yet technically, but I'm just going to try to do something a little different, because there's a lot of breakers out there. You got to find a way to differentiate yourself a little bit. And then second of all, really the most important thing when breaking is that you got to be fully transparent. Do everything in front of the camera. If you go watch a lot of breakers, sometimes you'll see guys have 4 or 5 cameras, so you can see from every angle. You might not have that luxury when you start, but just make sure that you do everything on camera so that everything is transparent. You leave nothing up to the imagination that you might have missed a pack, that you might have missed a card. Just take it slow. Be transparent, do everything on camera, and you should be set up to have a really fun first break. All right, so you're done your first break. Congratulations. Next, what you have to do is what I've heard from a lot of the pro breakers, probably the most difficult thing that you will have to do in this entire process. and that is sort and ship your cards. So this is really, in my opinion, the most important thing you're going to have to do, is because people have spent money, they've given money to you to open cards of packs of cards for them, and you have to now get those cards to them as safe and securely as possible. Remember, people will want to take these cards and submit them in to get graded. So they have to arrive in pristine condition, especially the big cards in the boxes that are pulled. So have a method in terms of how you're bagging up cards, which cards are getting sleeves, which cards are getting top loaders. On my website, I say, hey, here are the specific cards that are getting put into top loaders. They're your autographs, your memorabilia cards, your serial numbered cards, your high level rookies, and some other things as well that I've notated. And then everything else will go in a team bag and ship out to you that way. So make sure you're transparent with it, but make sure you're protecting people's cards. It's so important. I can't tell you the amount of cards that I've gotten from my breakers who have just taken fantastic care of them. I've sent them out to PSA and they've come back tens. And that's just miraculous that someone in a different state has opened a pack of cards, kept it in great condition, packaged it up, sent it across the country to me. I've received it, changed the case, sent it across the country. Exactly. Because to go to PSA, I got to send it out to California. So I'm going from Florida to California, and then I've gotten a PSA 10 on it. So it takes a great amount of care for something like that to happen. So you really have to spend the time, do everything very carefully, make sure you're sending everything to the right address, properly packaged. It's going to take some time. I haven't even done it yet, but I understand that it is probably going to take me multiple hours. There's some things you can do to make that process quicker for yourself. For instance, a laser printer, which can help you print labels and stick labels a lot faster, might make things easier for you. But really, you're probably going to learn as you go there, but just make sure you take your time and work in extra time for that, because you will not ship it the same night. You will probably not get it shipped the night after. Get some help. Have a girlfriend, have a wife, have a friend come over and help you ship. Make sure you are handling those cards with as much care when you're shipping and sorting as you are when you pulled them. Next, you want to start setting up your next break. So first of all, I would follow up with your buyers, send an email, thank them for joining you, maybe give them another promo code to come back a second time for a discount as a thank you for supporting your first break. And then you're going to want to make sure you have product. For myself, I have actually lined up product for 4 to 5 weeks worth of breaks. I didn't want to be in a point where maybe things started to go too quickly and I didn't have enough product and I lost that momentum. It doesn't look like it's going to go that way, but I wanted to be safe and certain. In worst case, even if you go acquire that product and you do it at a good price or a reasonable price, worst case, if for some reason things don't work out, you can't fill a break, your business flashes out for some reason, you're at least secured because you have a physical product that's worth money that you can then resell. So you're likely not going to take a massive loss on that product unless for some reason you've spent exorbitantly too much over retail for that product. So that is always kind of your fail safe, is that you have a product that is worth money. That you can sell even if you can't fill the break. So that is kind of the one solace that I take when I'm spending $4 or $5 grand acquiring product that I do not have buyers for yet. So yes, that can be a little stressful, but just keep that peace of mind in that you have something of value that you can sell if needed. And guys, that's basically what I have learned over the last 4 or 5 months. I hope this has helped in some small way. Again, I am not at all a seasoned breaker. I am not an accountant. I had not even done my first break yet. There are certainly more qualified people out there to do this video, but for some reason, I have found that they haven't. So I wanted to be transparent with you and share what I've learned, because it took me some time. It took me a lot of digging, took a lot of snooping and getting people on the phone and getting people by email to really answer some of my questions. And so I really sincerely hope this has helped you if this is a path you're looking to get down. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm happy to try my best to answer your question or to ask the friends that I've made in the industry, a better, more professional opinion. And then please, I would love your support if you go to khillcards.com and check out my breaks. I've got a break that's filling right now, has 14 empty spots. You may watch this video 1-2 years down the line, and hopefully that website is up and still running and chugging along. But if you watch this video within a couple weeks of release, I've got 3 breaks up there that I'm looking to fill. Would love to have you along. If you use the promo code YouTube, it'll give you $5 off. See, I told you, you gotta have a promo code. Use the promo code YouTube, it'll give you $5 off the break of your choice. Would love to have you. Let me know if you join below. Make sure I'll call you out. And we got some fun surprises planned for those first couple breaks. So I think it'll be a good time. Would appreciate if you join me. And again, I just hope you found a shred of help in this video and it helps you along your way. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe. I'm Ed Cahill, Cahill Cards. We'll see you around.